Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Parenting Lab. I'm really glad you're here with me today because we are going to do something a little bit different. I don't know about you, but this is the time of year where I start to feel really reflective. I look back on the year and even further back than that and see how far I've come in my goals and my healing, my own personal development and progress, and then, of course, into my relationships, especially in my parenting. It's just a time for gratitude and realigning and making space for growth. So, as I've kind of been in this frame of mind these past few weeks, I've been thinking a lot about words and the impact of words. Now, I love words. I'm an avid reader and writer. I'm actually much better at writing than I am at speaking. A lot of what I do as a parent coach centers around finding the right words to express what we're really trying to say. Because so often the feelings are there, but we don't have the vocabulary to express them fully. In all of the reading I do, especially about parenting, it's no surprise that every once in a while I come across words that are so perfectly put together that they end up having a really profound impact on me. So today, I want to share some of those words with you. Three quotes that completely rearranged me. Not overnight, not magically, and definitely not without some resistance, but in that quiet, steady way that can just settle into you and really start rearranging things from the inside out. I think we underestimate how powerful a single sentence can be. We spend so much time looking for the right book, the right method, the right script, the right strategy. And sometimes the shift we need comes in the form of just one small, honest line that lands at just the right moment. These quotes did that for me. They met me in the middle of my own mess and my own growth, and they showed me something I hadn't seen before. Maybe it was about my kids or about the way I was showing up, especially the places inside myself that still needed attention. So I want to offer you those same three quotes, along with some insights, the moments that I realized, oh, this is what I've been missing, or this is the thing I didn't even know I needed. My hope in doing this is that one of these lines will find you in the right place at the right time, the same way they found me. So let's jump into the first one. The first quote I want to share with you is from L.R. Nost, and it's this: Gentleness is not weakness, just the opposite. Preserving a gentle spirit in a heartless world takes extraordinary courage, determination, and resilience. Do not underestimate the power of gentleness, because gentleness is strength wrapped in peace, and therein lies the power to change the world. The very first time I read this, I remember stopping and then rereading it again and again, like my body just needed another chance to absorb it. Because the truth is, I didn't believe that gentleness was strength. Gentleness in the world that I knew looked like permissiveness or passiveness. It looked like being too soft, too emotional, too sensitive, too easily dismissed. A gentle voice was a voice to be overlooked or not taken seriously. And when you grow up with that message, whether spoken or unspoken, you end up believing that strength has to be loud, that it has to be firm, unshakable, maybe even a little bit intimidating, that strength has to be the person who holds the line no matter what. The parenting showed me something different. Parenting humbled me. It exposed every place where the old version of strength simply didn't work. You can't be louder than a toddler mid-meltdown and expect connection. You can't force a teenager to open up by tightening up on the rules. You can't create emotional safety by powering through your own dysregulation. And I think that's when this quote hit me with its full weight. Gentleness is strength wrapped in peace. Gentleness isn't passive. It isn't permissive. It isn't stepping back and letting your child run wild. Gentleness is a practice, a deep, grounded presence that refuses to escalate, refuses to dominate, refuses to abandon itself or the relationship. It's strength that isn't afraid to be calm, that doesn't need to be controlling, and it holds its center without crushing anyone else's. And that kind of strength, that takes a lot of courage. Courage to break generational patterns and do the work of healing. Courage to choose a different way than those default patterns that we inherit. I used to think I was gentle simply because I was quiet. I never had really been a yeller. I didn't storm through the house slamming cabinets or raising my voice. But quiet isn't the same as gentle. Quiet can be avoidant. Quiet can be disconnected. Quiet can actually be a way of slipping out of the moment instead of staying in it. And I was good at being quiet. I was good at keeping the peace, but I didn't feel strong. And without strength, my peace had no backbone. It had no anchor. It was more like tiptoeing around conflict, hoping that everything would just stay calm. But when I began understanding that gentleness was strength wrapped in peace, something clicked. Adding strength to my peace gave me a center. It gave me confidence. It allowed me to stay present in those hard moments and say what needed to be said, but with clarity and kindness and authority. Strength gave my peace purpose. It gave my peace resolve. Now, on the flip side of that, I work with so many parents who are kind of the opposite of that. Parents who grew up believing that strength must take the lead. Strength as control, strength as yelling, strength as dominance, as the loudest voice in the room. For them, adding peace to that strength is what brings everything into balance. Peace softens their strength. Peace calms it down, steadies it. Peace shows that power doesn't have to be forceful to be felt. And that's when I realized something. Peace plus strength equals presence, right? This is the grounded, calm, rooted presence that kids trust, the kind that leads without overpowering. But then strength plus peace equals safety. This is strength that doesn't intimidate. It protects, it anchors, it creates room for a child's full humanity. When peace and strength finally meet each other in either order, something transformative happens. They stop canceling each other out and start completing each other. And that is where real gentleness is. Gentleness is not the easy way out. Gentleness is often the hardest thing we do because it requires us to hold both strength and peace inside ourselves, even when everything around us feels challenging. The second quote is one I come back to every single week. Probably every single day. It's simple, it's direct, and it explains about 90% of the power struggles that we face as parents. It's from Jane Nelson, and she says, "Children will listen to you after they feel listened to." So I'm going to say that again because it's worth repeating. Children will listen to you after they feel listened to. We talked at length about this idea back in episode 34, but it 100% bears repeating because it is so impactful. This quote is the answer to so many moments when you're thinking, why won't they just listen? Why did they turn that into an argument? Why are they pushing back so hard? Why does nothing I say seem to land? This is not defiance. It is not disrespect, and it's not manipulation. Most of the time, it's dysregulation. It's overwhelm. It's a nervous system that doesn't feel safe enough to receive what you're trying to say yet. Because the brain, your child's brain, and honestly your brain too, cannot learn or process or problem solve until it feels understood. Correction without connection feels like pressure. Instruction without understanding feels like rejection. And lectures, no matter how calm or well-meaning, feel like noise when a child's inner world is screaming, "Do you even see me?" This is why trying to teach or explain or problem solve in the heat of the moment almost always backfires. We're talking to the behavior, but the behavior isn't the real thing. The behavior is just the signal. The emotional experience underneath that behavior, that is the real thing. And this quote really reframed that for me. Listening first isn't giving in. It isn't losing authority. It isn't letting your child run the show. Listening first is leadership. It's co-regulation. It's creating the emotional stability their brain needs so they're ready to hear you later. It's amazing how quickly things change when a child feels heard. It doesn't take a big speech or a perfect script. Sometimes it's just one sentence. "Tell me what's going on," or "help me understand." And just that tiny bit of acknowledgement opens the door. Because children listen to you naturally when they don't feel like they're fighting to be understood. So yes, this quote has saved me again and again. It taught me to slow down and to look beneath the behavior. It taught me that listening first isn't a strategy or a hack. It's really just a way of being. And when your child feels listened to, really listen to. They won't just listen to you, they will hear you. And not because they fear you, but because they trust you. Okay, this last quote is one I actually resisted for a long time. Not because I disagreed with it, but because I knew it was true, and that was hard. It's from Mark Wolin, and it's this: healing is an inside job. When I read that at the first, I felt it like right here because I knew immediately that I had been trying to do the opposite. For the longest time, I had tried to heal by reaching outward, learning more, reading more, doing more, listening to more voices, more experts, more strategies, hoping someone else could just hand me the missing piece that I hadn't found yet. And here's the tricky part: all of that is actually helpful. Tools help, language helps, therapists and books and podcasts and courses, they're all so valuable. But at the end of the day, they're support, they're guidance, they're scaffolding, but they're not the healing itself. We can't outsource what we are responsible for. We can't consume our way into wholeness, and we can't listen our way out of the pain we've been avoiding. Parenting makes this painfully clear because nothing exposes our old wounds quite like the moments when our kids need something from us that we've never received ourselves. For some of us, that's emotional safety. For some, it's patience or attunement. For others, it's a calm presence when we're used to chaos, or maybe boundaries that don't rely on fear. Parenting doesn't fix those wounds. Parenting reveals them to us. And once they're revealed, we stand at a crossroads. We can blame our kids. We can look for a strategy to control their behavior because we can't control our own. Or we can turn inward and ask, what part of me is hurting right now? What old story is being activated? What do I need in this moment so I can show up whole for them? And the truth is that no one can do that inner work for us. Only we can sit with the discomfort instead of running from it. Only we can face the grief or the fear or the shame that we've held onto for years. Only we can decide to respond instead of react. Only we can choose a different pattern than the one that we inherited. Only we can take the courage to heal, not someday, but now. And the beautiful thing is that when we take ownership of that work, when we stop waiting for someone else to save us, that's when the shift happens. We stop feeling powerless. We stop parenting from fear. We stop repeating what hurt us. We stop living at the mercy of these triggers, and we stop expecting our children to do all the work. That is the gift of healing from the inside. No one can do it for you, but no one can take it away from you. That's how my own journey toward healing really began. When I realized I was hoping that I could just learn my way out of this corner that I painted myself into. I didn't think I could face myself, let alone my kids or my partner. But how could our family change if I wasn't changing? How could I love them completely when I didn't even love myself? When we do this work, this internal, slow, courageous, hard work, we change the emotional tone of our home without saying a word. We soften where we used to harden. We stand firm where we used to collapse. We become more unshakable, not because we're controlling things more tightly, but because we're grounded more deeply. Your healing is not a distraction from parenting. Your healing is parenting. In fact, that actually reminds me of another quote that I love, bonus. And it says, understanding and resolving your own struggles, challenges, and emotional issues may be one of the greatest gifts you ever give your child. That's another one by Jane Nelson. I love that so much because the work you do inside yourself really does become an emotional inheritance that your children receive. Healing is an inside job, and doing that job is a gift for both you and your family. So that's it. 3 quotes that have been instrumental in the way that I parent. Gentleness is strength wrapped in peace. Children will listen to you after they feel listened to. And healing is an inside job. I don't come away from these quotes with perfect answers. I just come away with reminders that parenting is hard, that I'm going to mess up, that my kids are going to challenge me, and that's okay because it's also beautiful and I do a lot of things right and my kids are awesome. What these words do is give me a little compass, a little sense of how I want to show up, even when it's hard. They remind me that gentleness and listening and healing, that is where the real work is. Not in being perfect, not in controlling outcomes, but in showing up. And that is enough. If there's one thing I hope you take from this episode, it's that these are practices, not rules. Try one of these or lean into a quote that you have read and saved somewhere along the way. Maybe just one small moment this week where words come alive and really inspire you to action and see what shifts. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I will see you next week here in the Parenting Lab, where we'll continue to explore the art and science of parenting and put your parenting to the test. Take care.